guys, let's talk about brand image, like what that means for fitness professionals. Maybe you guys could give us a little bit of a rundown on your definition, your perspective of brand image, and why it's so important.
Well, there's like a huge part. It's like multidimensional, and Chris is such a great component with social media and the imaging, but it's, to make it simple, it's just how you're perceived in the marketplace. That's really what a brand image is.
Yep.
So what we want to do is look and say, how do we want to be perceived in the marketplace in connection to who we want to serve? So we can't serve the 7 billion people on earth. So it's saying, well, who is the client that we want to serve? Who is our most valuable payer? So when you said MVP, and what do they like? What don't they like? What are their struggles and frustrations? And then it's saying, okay, well, then how do we want to be perceived by that person so they purchase our products or services and can help them?
Awesome. And when we think about brand image, maybe you guys could give us some examples of who is doing it right, and maybe we can think of this like as an organization that maybe everybody knows just for familiarity's sake.
That's a good one. Okay.
Yeah,
I like that.
I know one that does it well. Us.
Well, we do it
reFRAME.
great. I mean, we're amazing. We're just so
There's
good
the
at
confidence.
Yeah.
I honestly, I always go back to Tone It Up.
Tone It Up,
So
yeah.
they were the ones that literally, they created their first nutrition book. Like, I mean, back in the day, before nutrition books were actually cool, and now they're not. But they just did everything right, and just their imaging, what they said, what they believed in. And you can see, like, if anybody's on here and wants to scroll back on their Instagram, you can see how they've changed, like, their mothers now. But it was never an abrupt change and then they would lose their followers. They literally guided them on their journey of growth. I would say they've absolutely nailed it.
Yeah. We love seeing them because, again, you see what they were able to do, and they did it. What we try and tell people, they niched in really tight in the beginning, and they grew their products and their services over time. They didn't rush right out and offer 15 things because I just have to try and please everybody. And I'm going to offer services that are $2 and services that are $2,000 and confuse the hell out of anybody who's showing up on their page. They were so specific and so image driven. Their images were always bright, airy. You know, they had a color story all the time. They were always on brand, and seeing them move into Target and getting these national chains and huge lines. And it was really, that's a beautiful story to watch. And I think a lot of people who, it may not be your cup of tea of the look of it or the aesthetic, but the way that they did it and the way they stuck to their core value, which is their mission statement, they've done an impeccable job.
So they executed the strategy just perfectly, you think?
Yeah,
awesome.
And they stuck to it. They had a plan. You know, they had a like 5-year, 10-year plan with that.
Yeah.
Cool. I'll have to check it out as well. Tone It Up.
Tone It Up.
All right. And I'm not going to ask you guys to throw anybody under the bus of who does a terrible job. I mean, we could probably actually think of some, just look at who's in the news and handling a situation badly. But so I'm not going to make you guys go there and get yourselves in trouble. But what would you say as far as like maybe the things you shouldn't do, or you mentioned something like don't have things that will confuse your customers or your followers. Maybe you could give our listeners some pointers there of what you guys think.
Well, I like this one because this is one that Jill can really speak to more than I can, in a sense. I've had a change on social media in general, going from television into more of the fitness and wellness role, which was very difficult for me to do because I didn't have the right followers for that. So I personally took it upon myself to remove all of my followers who did not fit my demographic. I removed thousands of people just because I didn't want their comments throwing off people that I was trying to attract. So it is controlling it on both ends. I do see some fitness brands that prey on weakness and are very disingenuous with the things they're posting and not being authentic, like to the person who's looking at it. They're never going to relate to that story. So Jill can speak better on that because she had all of the, competition photos. And I know a lot of the fitness people listening, you have those beautiful shots when you're at no body fat and you think that's what's going to sell your product. So I'll let Jill take this part because she literally went through this in the past 2 years.
You're teed up.
Yeah. I lived through that. So I was a competitor. I know Kristen says I kind of downplay my winning. So I am a 5-time IFBB champion. So I won 2 Arnolds and Olympia and a few other ones. And that was for 5 years, my career. So I would take very provocative, sporty not wearing many clothes, wearing bikinis, and posting it on Instagram. And that's really how I built my following. Majority of it was men, but there were also women that wanted to transform and be competitors. So technically my marketing was on point. So I was attracting who I wanted to serve, which was people wanting to go on stage. But when I retired and wanted to do more lifestyle, I found like I was in this kind of pivotal point where I was still using those photos, but it wasn't attracting the right clients. And that's the issue, as in I'm working with 40 to 45-year-old women. They don't want to go on stage, or they do, but they're like, this isn't what I want to look like, or I can never look like that. And it's just losing that disconnect. And that's really not what I was after. So I was losing out on customers that really could utilize my services. And I was getting the wish-washy people that may have been that age, or they're like, yeah, this is like a quick result. So I wasn't actually getting the right client for my service. I was still getting people in, but they weren't getting the results. And that's where I realized that imaging is so important in the fitness industry. And if we're not serving people that aren't competitors, then wearing no clothes is really not going to be beneficial unless you have like an OnlyFans page. But again, like that just could be what you want to do.
Yeah.
Which
So
again, no judgment. They make that money, girl. We don't care.
Yeah.
But
so I'd say that is the biggest thing of we have to get the imaging correct for that type of client. And then I would say the only other thing that I noticed that when brands are technically maybe not on point is, social media is part of our everyday life. And it's easy to get caught up in entertainment, funny things, or we make fun of people. I saw this one trainer actually took a video of some lady wearing beige pants. Maybe that's not the best thing to wear beige nude pants when you're out because you look naked. Sure, it was funny. But as a trainer, would you want to post that because it is funny, but then you're making fun of another woman, right? So I see this all the time where we just kind of want to make a laugh, but then we have to think again, this is our brand and image. And could this be a potential client that we're now making fun of? So I always say err on the side of caution, not just on politics, but with entertainment where people could be offended. That's something to really take into account.
Yeah, so that quick chuckle could actually have way deeper repercussions for yourself, your brand, everything that maybe you don't even realize at that point in time.
When you're just losing out on potential customers for sure.
Yeah. Okay. And I think we'll talk about why brand image is so important a lot here. But you guys also, you're focused on what people should be focusing on for their brand image for 2022. So maybe we could talk about like the importance of brand image, and then some key focal points for people as a new year is quickly coming up upon us. So whoever
Very
wants to take that one, go for it. Yeah.
Well, there's a lot to focus on, I think, for 2022. There's a big shift, obviously, as we're moving into the end of this year and into next year. So there's a lot more things that people are conscious of on social media, and you have to be putting that into your brand strategically. So whether that be diversity and inclusion, you have to work that into your marketing and your brand. There's no longer the days, and I know there are some sports companies out there who literally stick with one demographic and will not use any other type of model. I think those days are behind us in the sense that if you're not a brand who's growing and evolving with that, you're going to be missing out on a large target part of the audience, because Jill and I try and steer people away from vanity metrics all the time. We're all vain. We all have an ego, whether you want to say you do or not. We all do. Like, we want to look good. We want to feel good. We want recognition. And for a lot of people, they want to, get that right away. They don't want to look at the long term of it. So it is really hard to say, I need to focus on this one thing for next year. So our biggest things for next year is really focusing on the MVP. That's one of our biggest things that we teach in our Brand Image Academy part is MVP. And we don't mean most valuable player, it's most valuable payer, because we don't want people who play, we want people who pay. So that's the whole motto around it. And it's a little bit more niched in than your ideal client avatar that a lot of people talk about. So it's a thing where we really want you to go and discover that person. And we're very cognitive based. So Jill's in cognitive behavioral therapy. We like to bring everything back to the brain science and the human emotion reaction behind why we do things. And branding is emotionally driven. If you don't have a brand that evokes emotion and spurs someone to do something, because people don't buy what they need, they buy what they want. So it's one of those things we try and really teach people, okay, let's focus in on that MVP. Let's niche down to these things. We have a bunch of key factors we go through, and they have to really know that person, and they have to take themselves out of the equation, because you're not your MVP. It could be, Jill's clients mostly were like in their 50s, 60s. She's in her early 30s. It can't be based on everything she likes because you're not going to convert. So you really have to really learn next year to really get personal with people and to let go of the, I mean, it's the suck of social media. I mean, we all get drawn into it. And the more you can regiment that and turn it into a business versus just getting sucked in, I think you are less likely to make the mistakes Jill spoke about, making fun of people or being inappropriate in a way that really does offend a target audience that you're trying to reach. And if you don't know your target audience yet, you have to take time to learn that. So that's patience too. So I think 22 it's going to be a big year.
It's a lot of research with that, again, to kind of elaborate on that. Your MVP, there's like, it's not just this is what they do, right? It's like, what do they read? Do they drink Starbucks or Dunkin' Donuts? Like all of these things matter when it comes to how we deliver your service or them even getting into your pipeline to potentially work with you. And that includes not even just launches, but let's say Valentine's Day, Thanksgiving. It's like those words and how we connect to that matter too, because there's a ton of holidays and different events that we can target to them. But how do they feel about that holiday? How do they want to be targeted too? And that's the whole name of the game, is we have to continuously put stuff out there in content, but it has to be in a way that suits them and not like Black Friday. What are you going to do for that? So